Here's a strange truth. We live in an age where every answer is one click away and understanding feels farther than ever. You can hold a world of facts in your hand and still feel lost at the dinner table. Have you ever noticed that knowing more doesn't mean thinking better? Why does information seem to multiply while wisdom shrinks? This is not an insult, it's a puzzle. And today, we're starting with that puzzle to see what it reveals about us. Before we dive deeper, make sure you subscribe to this channel, leave a like on this video, share it with someone you care about, and tell me in the comments what you think about the state of society today. Your voice matters, and by participating in this discussion, you become part of a community that is striving to awaken from the fog of mediocrity and reclaim the clarity of true thought. One reason is the attention economy. Platforms are built to grab attention and keep it. They reward outrage because outrage is sticky. They amplify short, loud messages because those get shared. This changes what we value. It reshapes our habits, and habits shape minds. Another reason is cognitive overload. Our brains can only process so much. The modern world feeds us streams of competing inputs nonstop. Psychologists call this cognitive overload, when the amount of information exceeds our processing capacity. Under overload, we simplify. We prefer familiar narratives and catchy headlines. We trade nuance for speed, and speed often looks like stupidity. The Dunning-Kruger effect also plays a role. People with low skill often overestimate their knowledge. On social media, applause feels like proof. Proof feels like expertise. Confidence grows faster than competence. So the loudest voices often sound the surest, even when they are wrong. The availability heuristic distorts our judgment further. We judge the world by what comes easiest to mind. If a dramatic story appears in our feed a dozen times, it feels common, even if it is rare. This makes fear contagious and reason rare. The Ash conformity experiments remind us how social pressure can bend private judgment. Online likes and shares become the pressure that reshapes what we accept as true. Education systems add another layer. In many places, schooling rewards memorization and standardized answers over curiosity and critical thinking. Students learn to pass tests, not to wrestle with hard questions. The result is a workforce that can recite facts but struggles to connect them into meaningful insight. That gap between knowledge and wisdom is widening. Language and form matter too. Short attention spans favor slogans and memes. Memes are clever compressions of feeling, but they flatten complexity into a single punchline. Nuance evaporates into shareable moments. Ideas become logos rather than arguments. Incentives reinforce this pattern. What gets rewarded gets repeated. Newsrooms chase clicks, influencers chase views, politicians chase headlines. The feedback loop magnifies the simple and the sensational. Cultural habits tilt us toward certainty and away from doubt. Many cultures now treat doubt as weakness and conviction as strength. But doubt is the engine of deep thought. Socrates taught that admitting ignorance opens the door to questioning and learning. When certainty is prized, people stop asking how and start insisting they already know. That breeds quick answers and fewer real solutions. Algorithms tailor content to what makes us feel right, not what makes us think right. You see more of what you already like. That creates echo chambers where fringe ideas feel mainstream. Without friction, beliefs harden too quickly. Exposure to opposition is necessary for refinement of thought, and algorithms quietly remove that exposure. Solitude is disappearing, and that matters. Solitude gives the mind space to reflect, to test ideas against inner logic, to let thoughts mature. The Stanford marshmallow experiment shows the value of delayed gratification and self-control for long-term success. Constant stimulation trains us toward immediate reward and away from patience. When the brain seeks instant validation, it loses the muscle for deep, patient thinking. Personal stories make these trends human. I remember a friend who loved reading long essays and losing himself in arguments that unfolded slowly. Now he skims summaries and watches 2-minute explainers. He admits he feels less able to think through complicated problems. A teacher told me about students who ace multiple choice tests and freeze when asked to explain their reasoning. They know answers but cannot justify them. That gap between answer and understanding is dangerous. The political cost is steep. Democracy relies on citizens who can weigh evidence and tolerate complexity. When public opinion is driven by curated outrage, policy becomes headline-driven rather than evidence-driven. Nuance is punished and demagoguery rewarded. The workplace follows similar patterns. Companies optimize for short-term metrics and viral moments. Employees are measured by clicks and impressions, not by depth of insight. This trains people to prefer what looks productive over what is truly valuable. Economics and inequality matter as well. Reflection requires time, energy, and safety. Those with fewer resources face daily stress that crowds out contemplative thought. Deep thinking looks like a luxury when survival is the primary task. So the decline in collective wisdom is uneven, hitting hardest, where people have the least bandwidth to resist distraction. Yet calling this trend simple stupidity misses the complexity. Stupidity sounds like an insult, but what we face is better described as a mismatch between our environment and our evolved cognitive tools. Our brains evolved for small groups and slow information flows. Sudden global exposure to curated narratives overwhelms those systems. We are shaped by environments that did not exist for most of human history. Blaming individuals is easy but unfair, because the incentives and designs around us push thought in certain directions. Technology is not the villain alone. It amplifies tendencies that have always existed. The same platforms could, in theory, nurture deliberation if incentives changed. This means solutions must be both structural and personal. On the personal level, habits matter. Reading longer works, resisting the urge to summarize everything into a headline. Practicing solitude and learning to spot emotional manipulation all help. Teaching children to value the process of thinking more than the right answer changes the next generation. Structural fixes are also possible. Platforms could reward depth over virality. Education could prioritize critical reading and argumentation. Public funding could support careful journalism rather than sensationalism. These changes need political will and public demand, and they require us to care enough to ask for better systems. Art and story offer another pathway. Art slows us down and trains patience and empathy. Engaging deeply with complex narratives helps rebuild the taste for nuance. Prioritizing art and contemplation over spectacle could shift cultural norms away from instant reaction and toward reflective response. Small acts matter more than we think. One conversation that refuses the quick laugh and asks a real question can change a mind. A teacher who values reasoning over rote answers is a quiet revolution in a classroom. Choosing a long book over 10 headlines is a vote for depth in a market that often rewards superficiality. This is a diagnosis without a single verdict. I am offering reasons and examples rather than a final answer. There are many forces at play, and I am leaving the story open because the problem is ongoing, and our understanding must grow with it. What will you do when you notice your attention slipping? Will you demand more from the platforms you use? Will you teach someone to resist the applause that feels like proof? Will you choose patience over immediate validation? The choices begin small and continue indefinitely. To change the course of this drift, we don't need miracles. We need small acts repeated over time. A longer book read instead of a headline skimmed. A conversation that resists the easy laugh and asks a hard question. A teacher who asks why instead of what. These are tiny rebellions against the stream that, taken together, bend the current toward depth. They won't fix everything overnight, but they create a new taste for patience and clarity. So, which small rebellion will you begin today?